dorks! Welcome to another episode of the Cave of Dorkness, which, if you don't know by now, is basically just an excuse for me to show off all the toys and collectibles that I've acquired in the Dork Cave. This is episode 3. We're talking about this beautiful ceramic death dealer, Stein. Who and what is a death dealer? Well, the Death Dealer was a 1973 painting by fantasy sci-fi illustrator Frank Frazetta. Originally, it was done for an anthology series called Flashing Swords that was edited by Lynn Carter. I actually think it was Flashing Swords paperback number 2. You know, an anthology series that not a lot of people remember, and probably the most significant aspect of that anthology series is the fact that the Death Dealer painting occurred on the cover for number 2. And, you know, Frazetta, he came out of comics. You know, he did a lot of work on Lil Abner back in the day. He did some Buck Rogers stuff. 1973, though, when he did this painting for Flashing Swords number 2, it took off the image, the iconic image of the Death Dealer. I'm guessing you need a refresher. Well, I actually have another Stein with the painting on it. That is the Death Dealer. Does that look familiar to you? Yeah, it's pretty rad. Frazetta would go on and do a bunch of Death Dealer paintings. This character, this barbarian, riding his steed, draped in some gnarly gothic armor. It's an image that haunted me as a teen, and I became obsessed with Frazetta because of this painting. Now, he's also known primarily for his interpretation of Conan the Barbarian. You know, that long-haired Arnold Schwarzenegger version that you're so familiar with. That is really Frazetta's design. John Milius, when he made that movie, took the style of Conan from Frazetta's paintings. Before Frazetta, Conan basically looked like a 50s do-gooder. He had short hair, a little cape, the loincloth, barbarian sword, beast mode, the Schwarzenegger beast mode. That is Frazetta's design. But anyway, so Death Dealer. This ceramic mug I got from Frazetta's daughter at a Baltimore Comic-Con several years ago. The copyright on the bottom says that it's 1973, but I actually think that's referring to the painting. I don't think the mug is actually that old. If you go onto eBay, you'll see some people saying, like, it's 40 years old and it's rare and it's a classic. But you can also right now go to Frazetta's museum store and purchase this for, I think, $75. So don't buy that one that's on eBay for $200. I got it from her, I think, for $50. I don't drink from it, even though I could. Look at this thing. No, I don't do that. I don't do that. I look at it. I cherish it. It's just such a bizarre, such a bizarre collectible. You know, just to spring forth from the painting, become a Stein. Look at all the skulls on the bottom. I dig that, and the fire, and then the Frazetta's classic signature on the bottom there. Yeah. So, all right, a little more on my history with the Death Dealer. You know, my buddy Steve and I, in high school, we would collect paperbacks with all the Frazetta covers, those Conan ones, the Death Dealer ones, the John Carter of Mars ones, and we would trade those back and forth between each other. And then in the early, no, I would say, hold on, let me think. The 90s, in the mid-90s, Randy Bowen, the comic book sculptor, who became most famous for doing busts of Marvel characters, he did a bronze statue of the Death Dealer that appeared in the fantasy illustration book series Spectrum. Well, Dark Horse Comics, they went ahead and made a cheaper version of this bronze statue, one that would be a little more attainable to high school Brad. And they published it, and it's actually the first statue I ever purchased. So if I put that down right there, I'm going to bring up the first statue I ever got. Randy Bowen's interpretation of the Death Dealer. Boom! I love this thing. Normally it sits at the top of my desk, staring down. Yeah, so this came out in 1997, and I actually purchased it from Another Universe comic book store at Fair Oaks Mall. I don't know if you remember Another Universe, but for a brief window, comic books were mainstream, and a mall could support a shop inside their wall, and that was Another Universe. And yeah, I purchased this there, and that sent me down a black hole of Randy Bowen collecting. And for a while there, I actually sold off a bunch of those Marvel busts that Randy Bowen did, but I never sold off the Death Dealer here. So in the early 2000s, Steve and we went to the Poconos for the grand opening of the Frank Frazetta Museum. This, yeah, I think it'd be 2002. And I think we paid like, I don't know, $200, $300 a ticket to get into the gala opening. Frazetta was there. He had one stroke at that point, but he was still pretty limber and excited to meet all his fans. And we sat down at this dinner, and, you know, Steve and I were so shy at the time, we couldn't talk to anybody. You know, over on that table was Ken Kelly. Over on this table was Bernie Wrightson. All these amazing fantasy illustrators and comic book illustrators that we loved sitting around us. And we drank and sipped our wine quietly. And didn't talk to anybody. But when it came time to cut the ribbon of the museum, we went in, we got to mingle with Frazetta, talk to him a little bit about the Death Dealer and Conan the Barbarian. Steve got a couple prints signed. Sadly, I brought nothing, nor did I have enough money to purchase anything from the museum store, so I didn't get anything signed by Frazetta. But I did get one takeaway from that event. They had a documentarian crew there, and they were filming shots of the dinner. They were filming shots of the museum opening, going inside its walls for the first time. And they made a film. It was called Frazetta Painting with Fire. And actually, boom, here it is. And you can see Frazetta's Conan the Barbarian there on the cover. So in this film, which is how long is this movie? It is 92 minutes. Not a long documentary. And it's, you know, it's a simple celebration of Frazetta. But they have a scene of the opening of his museum. And sure enough, you can see Steve and I in this film checking our watch, actually, as the camera passes us, waiting for the ribbon to get cut. And yeah, so I can say that I am forever linked to Frank Frazetta. Frazetta himself, he passed away of a stroke in 2010. He's no longer with us. There's been some complications around the ownership of his paintings within the family. Some sad stories there. But the museum did reopen in 2013, and I think you can go up to the Poconos still and check it out. Robert Rodriguez was going to open a Frazetta museum in Austin, Texas at one point. And that was when he was also going to make a Fire and Ice remake. I don't know if you've seen the Ralph Bakshi animated cartoon, but his original plan was to do a modern take on Fire and Ice. And like so many Robert Rodriguez films, fell by the wayside. So yeah, you can go up and visit, and you can put your peepers on those paintings. You can, get your own Death Dealer statue off of eBay. They're also not terribly expensive. They're not super cheap. But like I said, the Stein you can get from their museum shop for $75. One day I will drink from it. Today's not that day, but one day I will. Yeah, so there you go. Another collectible from the Cave of Dorkness. One that I really, really love and have a lot of memories connected to. And yeah, it's weird. I don't go to my Frazetta books too often these days. It's such a high school emotion when I look at this. When I look at the Randy Bowen statue, when I watch that Frazetta documentary. It's tied to a lot of awkward teen memories, but maybe it's time to revisit my collection of his illustrated books. I don't know, when I was thinking what to do for episode 3, this just immediately popped into my head because it's just such a personal item. And so, okay. All right, so this is episode 3. How am I doing? Better than episode 2? Episode 4 will certainly be better. I'm going to try. I know I said that I was going to do 1 a week. Oh, the cops are coming. Here they come. I know I said I was going to do 1 a week, but I enjoy it too much, so I'm probably going to do 2 a week. I think I'm going to do 1 on Sunday and 1 on Thursday. So subscribe, follow my other dorks. Brian Young, at the Turtle Dork on Twitter. Darren Smith, at the Disco Dork on Twitter. Indie Dork, Billy Das, he's not feeling too well right now. He's under the weather and will not be making our Attack the Block screening. That's going to happen tonight at the Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester. Most likely, though, you're not watching it on Sunday, so you've already missed it. Just like Billy. Bummer. And then, of course, Sidewalk Siren, my wife, Lisa Gullickson. Follow her on all social medias. Check her on Letterboxd now. She's actually throwing out the stars. And what am I going to do for episode 4? I don't know. Maybe I'll get to that teddy bear, Shara. We'll see. We'll see. But until next time, take care. And then I hit this button.